It was with some difficulty that Rod kicked open the door and wheeled into the pink windmill a rickety wheelbarrow laden with rotten tomatoes, old Brussels sprouts, pea pods, cabbages, soggy carrots and beanstalks. He set the wheelbarrow down by the flower bin, turned to close the door and called out, "Emu, where are you?" No answer. "Emu, I'm back with the pig food." The lid of the flower bin raised slowly, and Emu's head popped out. It was not so much Rod calling Emu that made him appear, but more the smell that was seeping around the windmill. A smell that Emu discerned, amongst other things, of cabbages. Rod was searching everywhere for Emu. Everywhere, that is, except in the right place. "Emu, where are you?" Rod broke off and spun around to see his precious pile of pig food being pecked. "Now, you put those cabbages back," Rod shouted, and made a dash towards the wheelbarrow. Emu was working as fast as he could, pulling out the juiciest cabbages from the wheelbarrow and storing them in his flower bin. "Come on, give them back," said Rod. "They're for my new project, to make me a millionaire." Emu didn't care about Rod being a millionaire. All he cared about were cabbages. Rod opened the lid of the flower bin and retrieved as many as he could, but as fast as he put them back in the wheelbarrow, Emu picked them up again and returned them back to the flower bin. Of course, this developed into a tussle. "Emu, stop it! And it wasn't long before Rod found himself on the receiving end of one of Emu's pecks. It sent Rod hurtling headfirst into the pile of rotten tomatoes, Brussels sprouts, pea pods, cabbages and beanstalks. "Now look at what you've done," said Rod, scrambling to his feet. This is pig food. You mustn't throw it about. It won't be fit for human consumption. Now come along, I'll show you." Rod gathered up as much of the pig food as he could and walked to the hopper of the machine. Emu jumped out of the flower bin and followed Rod. He was always intrigued when Rod converted the machine in the pink windmill. Rod loaded the pig food into the hopper, closed the lid, and started the machine. The sails of the pink windmill turned merrily around, as did all the cogs and wheels inside. And finally a loud beep beep from the machine announced that it had completed its work, and down the chute rolled a bright new tin. Rod picked it up triumphantly and showed Emu. "There," he said, "tinned pig food." Emu couldn't believe it. "Now," said Rod, striding about with great pride, "all the farmer has to do when he wants to feed his pigs is get a tin opener, open this tin, empty it into the trough and go, 'Here, piggy, piggy.'" This was too much for Emu. He went into fits of laughter. "What are you laughing at?" said Rod. "We'll make our fortunes with this." Just then, the portrait of Rod's grandfather, hanging on the wall by the flower bin, piped up, "There's somebody at the door." "There's somebody at the door," echoed the moose's head hanging over the sink. "There's someone at the door," chimed the clock, clapping its hands, and soon everything in the pink windmill was announcing to Rod and Emu that the kids had arrived.
"There's somebody at the door,"
chanted Rod, and danced merrily with Emu to the front door of the pink windmill. He opened it, and the kids rushed in with shouts and cheers. "Hello, Rod! Hello, Emu! What's all this mess? What are we doing today?" "Ah," explained Rod. "This mess is all for my new project to make me a millionaire," he went on. "I'm making pig food." The kids all laughed together, and Emu joined in, laughing as heartily as before. The pink mill was always a happy place, full of laughter. But not so Gloomy Fortress, home of Grotbags the witch. Perched on a rocky crag, a little way from the pink windmill, the fortress was as cold and uninviting as its inhabitants. "What are those brats laughing at?" asked Grotbags, looking down the grotescope, spying on everyone at the pink windmill, and added, "They're always so happy." "That's because the pink windmill is a happy place," said Croc, her faithful, dim-witted crocodile assistant. "A happy place?" queried Grotbags, striding about the room. How can a place be happy when it's full of brats? Grotbags didn't like children. In fact, she hated them. She hated the fact that all the children in the world seemed to love Emu. If only I had that emu, she had often thought to herself, then all the brats in the world would be under my control. She snapped out of her thoughts. Come on, she suddenly ordered. We're going to that pink windmill to get that emu. At once, said Croc obediently, and added for good measure, Your Most Royal Highness and Imperial Impetuosity. Never mind all that, snarled Grotbags. Just get the hovergrot out. It wasn't long before there was the screaming sound of jet engines, and the hovergrot disappeared into the sky, carrying Grotbags and Croc. At the Pink Windmill, production of Rod's millionaire-making pig food was in full swing. The sails of the Pink Windmill were turning. The faster they turned, the more bright new tins of pig food seemed to roll down the chute from the hard-working machine. There they were gathered up by the kids and taken to various parts of the windmill. Some were painting brightly coloured pig food labels, some were cutting them out, and others were sticking them around the tins, which Rod was stacking into a neat pile. While all this was going on, Emu was over by the flour bins, helping Anthony repair a puncture in the front wheel of his delivery bike. We need some more pig food, shouted Spencer from the hopper. Coming right up, said Rod, and he left the tins, ran to the wheelbarrow and wheeled some more pig food across the floor of the Pink Windmill. At that moment, there was a sudden blinding flash and a very loud bizzazz, as a laser beam shot through the roof of the Pink Windmill and hit the wheelbarrow fair and square, sending Rod, rotten tomatoes, old cabbages, soggy carrots and Brussels sprouts flying. Rod jumped up. It's Grotbags, he said. She's bizzazzing us. Before anyone could move, there was another blinding flash, another bizzazz, and another laser beam hit the hopper, causing a minor explosion and a cloud of smoke. The kids screamed and ran to hide. Emu left the puncture and dived into the flour bins, closely followed by Rod. Grotbags, high above on the hovergrot, cackled with laughter and aimed her bizzazzer yet again. Bizzazz, she said, and cackled once more. Ha ha ha! Let's see you pick the bones out of that lot. She was laughing heartily and bizzazzing as hard as she could. Oh dear, moaned Croc. Excuse me, your royal jet lag, but should you be doing all this bizzazzing? You bet, cackled Grotbags. I'm really going to give those brats what they deserve. And she aimed her bizzazzer yet again. In the Pink Windmill, all was chaos as each new bizzazz hit some part of the windmill, causing pictures to fall from the walls and bits to fall off the machine, while the whole place threatened to fall down about their ears. Rod peered out of the flour bins, clutching Emu. If this keeps up, said Rod, there'll be nothing left of the Pink Windmill. It was then that Emu leapt from under his arm, jumped out of the flour bin, and grabbed the inner tube from Anthony's delivery bike. What are you doing? Said Rod. There's no time now to mend a puncture. But Emu had already bitten through the inner tube and was holding one long piece of rubber tube. He ran to the window with it, dropped it, ran back to the flour bins, and appeared at once with a hammer and some nails in his beak. I've got it, yelled Anthony, leaping from his hiding place and running to help Emu. Rod was bewildered. What are you both doing? He said, amidst yet another bizzazz and another piece of the Pink Windmill falling from the laser beam of Grotbags' bizzazzer. Undisturbed by all that was going on around them, Emu, Anthony and the others were now working fast. They had nailed the long piece of inner tube across the bottom of the open window and had stretched it taut. Anthony pulled back the inner tube. Emu grabbed one of his precious cabbages and placed it on the inner tube. The whole thing was like a large catapult. Anthony released his grip and the cabbage shot out of the window like a shell from a cannon. It very nearly knocked Grotbags' hat off. What was that? yelled Grotbags, and before she could say any more, a shower of rotten carrots followed the cabbage. Oh, moaned Croc. I think they're firing at us. And indeed they were. Down below in the pink windmill, the kids had all realised what Emu and Anthony were doing and were gathering as much of the pig food as they could and passing it to them for ammunition. Hey, careful, shouted Rod from the safety of the flour bins. That's my pig food. I'm going to make my fortune with that. But no one was listening. They were firing as much of the pig food as they could, skywards. Grotbags on the hovergrot was doing her best to avoid the rotten pig food and was lining up her machine for yet another bizzazz, but the pig food was coming thick and fast. She jumped up and yelled down at the pink windmill, "Fight fair, you rotten brats! Fight fair!" She couldn't say any more, as a well-aimed bunch of carrots had found its mark and half disappeared into her open mouth. She spun round on Croc, her eyes bulging, pointing to the carrots. "Oh, your Royal Majesty," said Croc. "Oh, why have you got those carrots in your mouth?" Before he could say much more, his face was showered with rotten tomatoes. Grotbags yanked the carrots from her mouth and in a fit of rage screamed at the kids below. "Right, you've really asked for it now, you brats!" Croc wiped the tomato from his face. "Oh," he sputtered and cried. "Oh, can't we call it off?" "Never!" roared Grotbags and aimed the hovergrot into a steep dive in the direction of the pink windmill. It was at this moment that a particularly heavy shower of Brussels sprouts, pea pods, cabbages and beanstalks shot up from the windmill and hit the hovergrot. One cabbage in particular lodged itself in the jet intake. The hovergrot spluttered, spun round like a top and went into a steep dive in the direction of Gloomy Fortress. Crash! It hit the turret, fell through the 5th floor, the 4th floor, the 3rd, the 2nd, the 1st, Grotbag's spell room, and ended up in the basement in the dungeons. "Oh no!" cried Grotbags in despair. "Will I never win?" Out of sight of Grotbags, Croc shook his head. At the pink windmill, Rod was shaking his head too. "My pig food, it's all gone," he said. "Now I won't become a millionaire." He broke off. Sure, his pig food had all gone, but Emu and the kids had used it to fight off Grotbags and so save the pink windmill, and that was far more important. Rod brightened. "Who wants to be a millionaire anyway?" he suddenly shouted. "Let's all have supper!" The kids all cheered, and soon the pink windmill was full of the aroma of sizzling sausages. The kids were all happy, Rod was happy, and so was Emu, for he still had 3 cabbages tucked away inside his flour bin.